Okay, so what is the Israeli government's take on social media? So I have seen a lot of like accounts on like Twitter where like the Israeli consulate has been using during the Gaza war, and
Mhm.
so yeah, what are the other initiatives that are they taking?
There are a number of initiatives. I should say I also do give some advice to bits of the government.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there is a lot of effort to try and engage with social media. And that's happening both at a sort of official government level and also inside Israeli politics.
Okay.
So politicians all have Facebook accounts, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and they're quite active with them. Um, since probably I would say since the Gaza war, or more so even since the flotilla,
Mm-hmm.
um, they've got they've got very good at using social media to try and get their message out.
Okay.
So if you saw the flotilla incident where the Israeli commandos went onto the ship,
Mm-hmm.
um, and within a day or so, there were the videos circulating showing how the soldiers landed on the deck and were being attacked by people with metal pipes, etc.
Right.
These were the people from IHH.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a couple of years ago, you wouldn't have had that, and the Israeli government would have had a lot of trouble trying to get its message out.
Right.
Um, Now through social media, I think they're getting a lot better. Um, so there's that on the one side. There's also a whole lot of efforts using blogs, using videos, YouTube, etc., which aren't getting as much traction. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, Israel's had a number of humanitarian missions now, and I know I get emails from them saying, here's the video of our soldiers landing. Landing in different places, setting up humanitarian missions, setting up medical centres, first aid tents, etc.
Okay.
Um, that sort of positive stuff doesn't seem to get as much attention, partly because the public maybe just isn't as interested. They've got their view on what they think Israel is about, and
Mm-hmm.
any message that doesn't suit that, they just ignore.
Right.
So because what's happening with social media is the public gets to decide what it is they want to see.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So people filter themselves, and they get the news they want to read.
Okay. Also, if the like general public, just non-diplomats want to get involved with like blogging or say digital diplomacy, as they say, so can they like are there organizations where you can go and approach them and say that oh I want to contribute as a blogger as well?
Um, well, any of the Zionist federations, for example, would be happy to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
Most run their own blogs, and most have in-person meetings where people get together and discuss issues. Um, so I don't think there's any shortage of opportunity. Um, but one of the issues is everyone then goes out and talks about the issues they want to speak about, has their own take on things, their own messages, etc.
Right.
So while there is support in getting information to people,
Uh-huh.
it's really up to individuals themselves on what they're doing. So it's not coordinated in a that sort of way.
Right.
Um, I hope that makes sense. There's opportunities for sharing information,
Mm-hmm.
but beyond that, everyone sort of does their own thing.
Right. Yep. Understand. Okay. So, do you think social media is really like that much a better channel than traditional media, or because like traditional media just allows you to regulate, right? Like also that, like you were saying, like you have bloggers, but they are also like doing their own thing. So, in that sense, like traditional media allows you to get your message across without the message being modified, right? So, do you think that
Well,
social media is that much better?
it lets you get the message across the way you want it if you happen to be
Right.
the media company. It doesn't necessarily help if you happen to be a government official who's being asked questions. uh,
Yep.
so there's firstly that point.
Uh-huh.
I think the public is very distrustful these days, both of government and also of traditional media. So social media gives an outlet for people, again, to be able to choose, choose different stories, get different sides of a story, and people are doing that. So for government, maybe there are people who are interested in actually hearing another side, so they'll actually go and look at the government's message. They might
Right.
approach it very skeptically,
Mm-hmm.
but at least they're listening. There are others who aren't interested at all. They've made up their mind before even examining the issue. In
Right.
that case, there's not much you can do. Um, so I think social media makes a big difference, particularly for official spokespeople who are using it, because they can control what they're saying, and they don't get an interview with traditional media where the media then goes and manipulates it.
Right.
Particularly to do with Israel, we've seen a lot of evidence of media manipulation, not so much interviews, but photographs that have been faked, entire staged incidents. So we had the Jenin massacre some years ago, and this was a massacre, again, inverted commas, that was shown in the media around the world, that had major reports from NGOs, and in the end it turned out the whole thing was fabricated. It wasn't real.
Right.
So, sometimes it's very hard, because of this distrust of government, it's very hard for government to get a message across, even when they've got the facts, they've got the video, they've got the evidence. Sometimes it can take 2 years for the truth to come out,
Right.
whereas political groups, etc., who are using both old media and new media in order to promote propaganda, the propaganda can spread around the world very quickly, and it can take years before the real messages come out.
Right. So I
Or
guess.
at least,
Mhm.
now, so the messages are often there very early. Really, it's not until they come out. It's until people start listening to them, and until experts do enough analysis that they can turn around and say, actually, yes, this is true.
Right. So I guess like a hybrid media for like combining social and traditional media would be the best solution.
Um, the traditional media isn't going anywhere.
True.
Circulation may be dropping,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but there is definitely a role for quality media. The catch is a lot of news agencies in particular have been cutting budgets, they've been trying to deal with social media,
Right.
getting free content from people, etc. I'm not sure how successful that model is. The strength of traditional media is that it's got professional journalistic standards, facts should be checked, editorial control should be exercised, and they should be presenting a true and balanced view. If traditional media loses the trust people put in it, and to a large extent it has,
Right.
then it doesn't really add much. So
True.
I see a role for it, and particularly a role for interviews. Hard Talk on the BBC has traditionally done really good interviews.
Right.
That sort of challenging of an expert, of a politician, that's something only traditional media can really do, because only traditional media can get access to all of the experts
Right.
and all of the politicians and all of the world leaders, and consistently deliver high-quality interviews. Showing footage of what's happening out on the street, well, that's starting to spread into social media. The more social media like you're getting, the more that gap can actually be filled by platforms that aggregate and let you sort and search and find information direct from the public. Traditional media won't be able to replace that long term.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. It's a very complete answer. Thank you very much.